everyone, welcome back to Talk Regulatory to Me, where we're your hosts. I'm Zora,
And I'm Axa.
and in this series, what we are going to do is talk about more general CV tips, tips for job applications and interviews. And if you had seen our last or one of our last LinkedIn posts, we are going to start doing CV reviews and interview preparations, and to kickstart that kind of of Talk Regulatory to Me, we were offering a CV review for two people who commented on our post. So congratulations to, was it Aisha and
Madavi, I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
who won that kind of competition, little competition that we had. So thank you all for entering. We have received two CVs. So what we'll do is we'll just go through kind of the structure and our give our feedback and our comments.
We've already actually sat through both of us together and written our comments and reworded the CV, etc. But what we're planning on doing today is kind of generalizing that and telling, kind of going through the CV itself and maybe mentioning some of the good points and then the areas that need a bit of work.
Yeah, and it's something that, if you guys were looking to update your CV, listen out for the tips and tricks, and then you can incorporate those into your own. So, okay, we'll start with the first one. So we had so I think one of the first comments I can see that we put on here.
This is for Aisha. Yeah. We're going to start off with Aisha's.
So I think one of the first things that we said, and I think is quite important in general, is the formatting of the CV. So we think, I think anybody will say really 2 pages, keep it brief, keep it bullet points, but keep the information that you have in there important.
Clear and concise.
And things like, I know it sounds so like tedious, but to have all of your font the same, the same type and the size as well.
One thing about regulatory is that you need to have great attention to detail. So if we see on your CV that you've got different fonts, you've got different sizes
and stuff,
straight away you're not going to be a good fit, unfortunately. So just make sure that you have the right font size and the consistency throughout the CV.
So do you want to start with maybe the professional summary?
Yeah, so I think the summary itself is quite vague, that what we've received. I'll read it out to you and then we can add our comments in. So she's written experienced regulatory affairs specialist with expertise in EMA, MHRA and FDA regulatory environments, proven track record in CMC documentation, life cycle management, ECTD publishing and variation submissions across EU and UK markets. Adept at collaborating with cross-functional teams and delivering compliant, timely regulatory submissions, passionate about ensuring regulatory excellence and continuous process improvement. So first thing that we've highlighted is experienced. And what did we write? Sorry, had some technical difficulties in my iPad.
So I think we've put down, we've got a few, we've said, to kind of summarize your key skills and why you think you should be hired. And, kind of talk about where it says proven track record. What do you mean by that? What are your achievements? What have you achieved in, the jobs that you've done thus far?
Yeah, because so far they're just claims that you're making. You've not backed up anything, what you've said.
And then include what, because we spoke to her as well, and she said she was more passionate and looking for roles in RACMC. Yeah. So, you need to really tailor your CV to the position that you're applying for. So in this case, it's kind of a general regulatory, summary. But if you're looking for an RACMC role, you need to put in your summary why, and I guess what that means to you to work in a, an RACMC department, and why you would fit well into a CMCRA team.
Yeah, and I think in your summary as well, there's no point mentioning ECTD publishing because you're focused on CMC, right? So you've already mentioned that in an area of expertise. Again, so you can either take it out from there, you can take it out from your professional summary, but there's no need to mention it twice, especially if you're focusing on CMC.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I think we can move on then to the area of expertise where she had, like you just said, with things like ECTD publishing, a lot of things were repeated from the summary above, and some of the things are not really relevant to the role that you're applying for, so CMC. So to talk about things like clinical research and stuff, okay, that's quite good in terms of your maybe what knowledge, you've done, your knowledge and what you've done when it comes to your experience. But if you want to show that you are looking for a role in CMC, you, like I said, you really need to tailor your CV towards that and put in things like you have done, CMC, ASMF, TrackWise, data management, and Office.
Yeah, Microsoft Office, and then
Yeah.
everything else that you've mentioned, like life cycle management, again, that's already mentioned above, process improvement, ICH guidelines, CMP and GLP, labeling artworks, EME, MHRA, and FDA compliance. Like a lot of it is repetition, and you don't need that. And again, area of expertise, you should only have like 2 or 3 main areas of expertise that you have there. Yes, you've got your technical part, but then we need to see a bit more of your soft skills there as
Yes,
well.
yeah, I think that's one thing that we had as well. Like,
Yeah,
yes, technical skills, obviously, of course, are great,
yeah.
but you can go more in depth in them when you talk about your experience. And something that you want to show in that first couple of seconds is what your soft skills are as well. Are you good at prioritizing? Are you good at working in a fast-paced environment, which regulatory is all about? Are you good at
I
interpretation?
think one thing to definitely mention is attention to detail as well, because if you've, again, as I mentioned, if you've not got that, then maybe this isn't
Yeah.
the great environment for you.
Yeah, and things like time
Yeah,
management, cross-functional team,
yeah.
working with cross-functional
Interpersonal
teams.
skills as well.
Yeah,
You must be able to communicate,
communicate. Yeah.
because we communicate with stakeholders left, right, and centre. So I
Hmm.
think those kind of skills, soft skills as well as your technical, so be quite selective on the skills that you choose and put into that area. And again, as we've mentioned, reduce the space. But I think you've used quite a lot of spacing in between them, which has kind of pushed your CV to 3 pages.
So then we go on to professional experience. Of course, we're not going to read, where she worked, how long she
Mm-hmm.
worked for, and all of the kind of points, but we can speak about what we've done, or what we would propose, and that's kind of summarizing some key things. So I think you need to elaborate exactly what you've done in terms of what you've been responsible for, but you need to be quite, like you said, clear and concise. What does that actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you write things like submitting a variation, things to keep in mind, which, Aisha has done, but, just a tip for everybody else is what regions you've worked on, what kind of products have you worked on? Are they generics? Are they innovative products?
Pharmaceutical forms.
Yeah, from different pharmaceutical forms. Have you done medical devices?
Mm-hmm.
What types of variations have you done? Are they admin? Are they quality? Are they safety? Can you give an example of any kind of, if you're doing
Yeah.
RACMC, you want to say you've done a quality variation, give some examples
Have you
of
written the
quality ones.
dossiers?
Yeah.
Have you written the module 3, or have you just reviewed the
Reviewed
module
it.
3?
Yeah. Have you been responsible for those submissions, or are you helping others? Because of course, when you're starting out, you are helping your managers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you're helping your colleagues in their submissions, but you need to show that you also understand. So, okay, yes, or I've worked on a tech transfer, and include some achievements in
Mm-hmm.
there as
Yeah,
well.
I think that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. I was like, what's that? It just kind of fell out of my brain there. Include achievements of something that you're quite proud of. So, some sort of variation or initial submission or whatever it is that you're quite proud of that you achieved in either a short timeline,
Mm-hmm.
or there were quite a lot of hurdles that you had to
Yeah.
overcome. And what were the hurdles? How did you overcome them? But again, remember, be clear and concise. So, you don't need to write paragraphs and paragraphs, like a sentence, 2 sentences
Mm-hmm.
on what it was and how you achieved your goal. So I think when you're writing out your the list of the things that you've done, the tasks that you've done within that job, what we want to see is the task itself and how you've done the task.
Mm-hmm.
So show us, like, don't just say I submitted a variation, submitted variations by doing X, Y, and Z,
Mm-hmm.
or as Zora mentioned, quality variations and reviewed X, Y, and Z guidelines or whatever. And it's just showing that you've used your initiative to tell us how you've got to the conclusion
Mm-hmm.
as well. Yeah, something that we tend to use and you've probably heard of before is the STAR method, which is the situation, task, action, and then the result. So that's the kind of format that you want to follow to tell us what it is that you've done
Mm-hmm.
in your job.
Yeah, and I would say, yes, we're saying not to make your CV quite long, but it's still important to put in things like updating of internal databases
Mm-hmm.
or external databases, things like with any kind of additional trainings that you've gone on, that's always quite good to put in there. The other tasks that you've done, creating of product information text, whatever it is, however you've worked with other companies or other departments, sorry, I think it's quite good to put in there just to show the breadth of the job that you've done.
And then we're also kind of looking at the technicality of your writing as well, how you're writing these, because we write a lot of reports on regulatory, so we need to be very clear, very concise. And I know I keep using these terms, but that's the nature of the job. So if we're not seeing that in the CV, there's no way of us really confirming that you'd be able to do that in the job. And it's sad, but all we get really from you is what's in your CV. So if you're not demonstrating the skills that we're looking for, we're
You won't
unlikely
get
to.
that first call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And sometimes I know people perform better in person and you're able to describe your skills better in person, but give yourself that shot to even get the first interview by being clear, be concise, and give us what we want.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then I think moving on to education, I
Yeah.
think it's quite good. She's put in a higher level or higher degrees that she's done, which I think is quite good for somebody who's a bit experienced as she is. I wouldn't go into the detail, and she hasn't, of high school
Yeah.
diploma or anything like that,
Not
GCSEs
relevant.
and stuff. And then she's also put in her academic project, and for somebody who might not have a lot of experience, and it's quite good to expand on your dissertation or
Yeah.
whatever else you've done, just to add, obviously it's going to be science related, to just show that connection between you and sciences.
Yeah, and maybe just give a description of what the project was and maybe the results if you've got the space.
Yeah.
And if you've not, as we've mentioned, if you've not got that much experience in industry at the moment, you're just graduated, for example, maybe you can talk a little bit more about your actual project and then link it through interpersonal skills or the soft skills that we're looking for, and then you'll be able to demonstrate that quite nicely through that. And then another thing is like the certification. So I know Aisha's mentioned a lot that she's done in India. However, sometimes it's not, if you're applying to the UK or if you're in the UK now, it might not be fully relevant. So just be careful with what you provide in that section. But if you are, like, one thing that we would always say is, are you a member of TOPRA? Make sure you highlight that you're a TOPRA member there.
Or have you done any additional courses, or
Yeah.
and shown that you've done some research, or shown like a passion into really
Yeah.
understanding regulatory?
I mean, you can always mention that you watch our podcasts.
I'm not sure how much value that would hold at the moment.
Do you know what? One girl that I actually was helping, I was coaching, and she put down that she got her, well, she was learning kind of from me, and the company was quite impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're showing that you are doing something, and I always said, when I was looking for jobs and stuff, I would always say that in hobbies or whatever, that TV programs or anything that I watch are related to science and like the
Yeah.
drugs and manufacturing process, not manufacturing processes, but
Yeah.
just about medicines in general, and that was my interest. So I think it does, if you're showing you're
It
passionate
matters,
about
exactly.
it.
It
Yeah.
matters.
And I think that also, one of the things that we said is, do you have any relevant hobbies
Yeah.
or anything that you can add on why science interests you, just to show that you are passionate about sciences,
Yeah.
I guess.
And then it's always good if you if you have any good cooking skills or anything like that, because
Just something interesting. Yeah.
well, not even that. Like, we like cakes.
We like cakes. Yeah, we both
So,
bake.
like, no, what I'm trying to get at is that, like, when you're coming into the office, you can bring us cakes.
Well, no, because every time it's someone's birthday in the office now, there's one girl, Pat, she makes cakes.
Is it not you anymore?
I don't make cakes for anybody
Oh.
at work, no.
Okay.
If it's an occasion, I'll make something.
Yeah.
But no, not if I don't have the time to be doing it
No,
for
fair
everybody's
enough.
birthday, no. I'll bring a few things in here and there, but yeah.
Not all the time.
No, not all the time.
And then finally, you've got below that you are eligible to work in the UK. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because it's important information to mention what kind of visa you would require, or
If you're looking for sponsorship and
that
stuff.
kind of thing. And if it's available on your CV, it's just easy, rather than the hiring manager having to like search for that information. And then another comment that we would have is to put down your references if you've got the space. If not, you can just write available on request. So overall, you've got a really good CV, you've got a lot of information stated, you've got a lot of knowledge, you've got a lot of experience. I think what we're just looking for is you to just be a little bit more concise and to tie everything up nicely together. And I'm sure you'd have no problem in getting a job.
Yes, good luck for your search.
Good luck. So next, we're actually going to move on to the second winner, called Madavi.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if
I
not
think so.
pronouncing that correctly. But okay, so again, so this is more of a CV which is quite new, so you don't have too much experience in industry, but nevertheless you still got the experience and you've got the interest there, so we will definitely help you in refining your CV. So firstly, again, we'll start off at this at the beginning. So I think you're based in India, and if you are looking for a job within the UK, one thing that we'd mention is have your phone number in the UK, because you're probably unlikely to get a call if you've got an Indian number there. If you're applying to India, then perfect. Um, in the summary, Zora, do you want to read out the summary of?
Yes, so this in the summary is written aspiring regulatory professional with internship experience in dossier preparation and labeling compliance, seeking to grow within a regulatory affairs team and support global health initiatives. So although, the title is summary and normally a summary is quite brief, I think this is a bit too brief.
Yeah.
I think you should include what kind of regulatory roles it is that you are looking for and to summarize why you would be a good fit into the team. So like Aisha had pointed out some things that she has kind of got her experience in. I think that's quite good because it kind of catches the hiring manager's eye. um and to add things like, again, we've said before, ability to work cross functionally in a high paced environment and to understand the ever changing landscape of regulatory. So to, like Axa said, although you don't have that much experience, but to still include why you think you would be, it's good for a company to give you a chance.
Yeah, and maybe say, like, if you've got, for example, as Aisha mentioned, an interest in CMC, say this is a reason why CMC has interested me. This is the reason why I want to go into this area, and these are the skills that will help me within this role.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing I would say is that you've got it in inverted commas. There's no need for that. You can take that out. Moving on into the education, we don't think your education should be stated straight after the summary. That should be moved down after your experience. Another thing you have stated is your GPA for India, but again in the UK this is irrelevant to us. So I think you could either elaborate on that or take it out, really.
If you are
Yeah, if
applying
it's
to UK
for the
roles,
UK, if it's India, that's fine.
yeah. And then I think another thing that we said just with the education, although we said it should move further down to the experience, is to move your academic projects within the education section. So you have, you've done your M Pharm and your B Pharmacy, and you've put the projects down here. So maybe it would be good to keep that with your education as well.
Yeah, and then as we mentioned for Aisha's as well, because you don't have the industry experience, elaborate on your academic projects. Let us know what the project you've obviously stated the project, but what was the result of the project? Did you learn anything significant? Did you find any anomalies? Did you overcome any hurdles or challenges? Whatever it is, like, state it down here because you've got the space to do it.
We can move up to the experience then. So your internship in regulatory affairs, we weren't sure if that was just your job title or if you have maybe another job title that you can put in. And I think it was quite nice how she split the pre-marketing and the post-marketing up. I think because she is an intern, we kind of understand that she might not be able to, or she might not create the documents, but if you do create any certain documents, I think that would be quite good to show, to show that you have some ownership and to show that you have some kind of responsibilities. And then just to elaborate again on types of procedures that you've done, the pharmaceutical form if you're working for a generic or an innovator on innovative medicines, and I think you said in different regions as well, or is it just the one region?
Because I think you've just mentioned the European Union, but have you worked on India, like Indian submissions, or the UK? Like, if you've whatever region you've worked in, whatever market you've worked in, it'd be good to state that there.
And again, with the post-marketing as well, I guess even with the pre-marketing, what are your major kind of achievements? Is there anything worth highlighting? Were you able to, validation phase, were you able to conclude that within a certain number of weeks? Were you able to get a variation approved that was quite difficult without any questions? So I think it's worth mentioning. And if there is anything that you helped any other colleagues with that you might not have hands-on experience with, but
you've got an overview
of it is definitely worth highlighting, because obviously you're still starting out in your career, and no hiring manager would expect you to know how to do everything with a couple of months experience. But if you have that kind of
it's a willingness,
knowledge,
right? And the willingness to learn and actually demonstrate how you would find that knowledge. You might not have done it yourself, or sometimes hiring managers will give you a scenario to say, okay, you've got X type of variation. Now, how would you deal with that? the first thing that you would do is look at the guidelines.
Yeah.
So we're not expecting you to know everything by heart, but we want you to know where to look and think pragmatically as well. And so I don't know if you mentioned about the types of variations, but you could maybe
Yes.
mention. Did you mention that?
No.
So the if you've done quality variations, if you've done safety ones or admin ones, specifically state the type of variations, and you've got the space to do it. So I would definitely maybe give a couple of examples and say, I've done X, Y, and Z variations. If they were approved earlier, sometimes you get, I think the earliest I've had a variation approval was in like 2 days or something like that. Yeah. It was straight away.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's an achievement because you've done everything correctly. There's no questions, and it demonstrates that you've got good attention to detail. It demonstrates that you can work to a short deadline as well if you did have a deadline that you need to meet, and you can state that there as well. So you've got quite a lot of I think space to be able to elaborate on a lot that you've done.
Next was technical skills and tools. So I think overall this was quite good anyway. But I maybe would bring up your soft skills to this section as well. And again, some things that we had maybe suggested, things like ability to work in a fast-paced environment, ability to meet deadlines, prioritization, and maybe it would be quite good in this as well to show that you are keeping up to date with regulatory changes as well, of course, because you don't have that much experience. Is quite good for, again, for you to add in any extra research that you've done, anything, podcasts that you're watching, any external trainings that you're going to, is quite good to put in there to show that you are actively looking at what's changing in regulatory and you want to be a part of that change. So I think that would be quite good.
And I think another thing to mention as well is, okay, you've only got one internship in regulatory affairs. Have you got any other experience in any other areas?
Yeah.
So have you worked in because I can see that you've got is it a pharmacy degree? So have you worked in a pharmacy? What kind of skills did you learn from there? One thing that I had in my CV, like for learning skills, there's specific skills that I knew I didn't have, one of which was I was lacking confidence and I needed to learn negotiation skills. So I strategically worked in a business development team department to learn those skills because I knew they were essential for regulatory. So that's something that you guys can look into as well. Sometimes if you don't get a job straight away into regulatory, what skills is it that you're lacking that you need to maybe develop? Because that will help you, and you will learn other skills as well in those roles that will help you in regulatory. So sometimes that's quite good to do. Just kind of maneuver, jump. But you're not essentially moving into different careers, but you're trying to attain those skills. And I think that would be, for me as a hiring manager, I'd look at that and say, okay, they've used their brain, they've used their initiative, they've looked at and reflected at themselves and thought, I need these skills, how do I get it? And then they've gotten those skills.
And it's not only that, in this country at least, a lot of people, a corporate job is not their first job. If you go to uni, you're probably working throughout your uni life, retail or hospitality or something. You have experience.
Like
so
state that, and state the interpersonal skills that you and the soft skills that you've gained. It doesn't always need to be technical. It's the soft skills that we're also looking for.
Exactly.
That would and then I think, other than that, what else have you got? You've got your certifications. Again, as we mentioned for Aisha, if you're applying in the UK and you've got Indian certifications, you might need to elaborate on them a little bit because we won't recognise them, and add in regulatory like organisations such as SOPRA, or if there's anything else in India, I don't know if there is.
I'm not sure.
But if there's like some sort of organisation, then maybe sign up to that and have that as part of your certifications and like other areas. How would you put? I wouldn't put it under certifications. I would just maybe put it under. What have I put it under? I can't remember the title. Put it under.
But something like areas of interest or something, maybe. And I think with that, again, like you also had a note about any other interests that are, and hobbies or interests that could relate back to science as well.
So like if you like watching medicinal documentaries or something like that, and you, because there's tons on Netflix that I always watch, I would put that down because it is an interest of yours, and it's something that would impress me actually, because it's not something that you just have as your day 9 to 5 job, but you're actually interested in it in the evening,
and you're taking you're taking your time out of your normal job to watch them because you're interested in it.
And then again at the bottom, I add any references and any additional information, as we've said, to link back to regulatory, and then moving the soft skills up beside the technical skills. Um, I think that was everything. Was there anything else?
Yeah, I think that was it.
But overall, again, you've got some great experience as well. Just because you don't have a lot of experience doesn't matter.
No.
It's how you present the information and how, again, you let us know what you've learnt from it and achieved. So I think all in all, both of the CVs were really good. And we will send you the full CV back with all of our comments so you can make the amendments to your CV and hopefully start applying to jobs with them.
Yes, so good luck. And if anybody else is interested in a CV review, just drop us a message and we will get back to you.
Well, that's it from us today on Talk Regulatory to Me. If you have liked this, please do like this video, share, and comment. And we will see you on the next Talk Regulatory to Me podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.